the scheduled meeting for August. If you could all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Return to
I
tab.
pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very much. Madam Clerk, you call the roll, please.
Yes. Counselor Bouchard.
Here.
Mayor Boulay.
Here.
Counselor Brown.
Here.
Counselor Champlin.
Here.
Counselor Fennessy.
Here.
Counselor Grady Sexton. Here. Counselor Keach.
He is excused.
Counselor Kretovic.
Here.
Counselor Mattson.
She's excused.
Counselor McLaughlin.
Here.
Counselor McNamara.
Here.
Counselor Nyan.
Present.
Counselor Pierce.
Here.
Counselor Rice Hawkins.
Here.
And Counselor Todd.
Here. Okay, good to see everybody. We have the minutes for June 5th, 2023 in front of us. This is for the Finance Committee. Is there a motion?
Move approval. Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Abstain. Sister wasn't present.
Excuse me?
Abstain.
Abstain. I abstain also. I wasn't here.
Can we get a motion for July 10th?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes of July 10th. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Motion is adopted. Simply note that there are a couple items that have been removed from the consent agenda. Those would be items 17 and 18. So can I get a motion without 17 and 18 for approval of the consent agenda?
Approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. That takes us to our public hearings. And Madam Clerk, item 27A, please.
It's a resolution determining the proposed project has a public benefit and approving an application by First Church Holdings for a 7-year RSA 79E Community Revitalization Tax Relief Incentive for the renovation of real estate located at 177 North Main Street.
Sorry.
You all set? Did you win the lottery?
I was trying to put it on silent and I couldn't find my phone.
Have a winner.
Would you let her win the
All right, so motion has been, the agenda is read. Mr. Manager.
Mr. Walsh. Will present.
Good evening, Your Honor, members of the council. So before you tonight, as the clerk mentioned, you have an RSA 79E application that's been filed by First Church LLC relative to their conversion of the property, which was recently a homeless shelter. It's now vacant into 30 units of market rate rental housing. The project itself has kind of changed a little bit in size. So initially, the developer applied for 79E based on 33 units. During the permitting process, the unit count went to 34. There was, at the zoning board, they were not successful in getting a density variance the first time around, so the project was reduced to 30 units, and that variance was granted earlier this month. There's a supplemental report that explains the differences between the original project and the new project. It talks about sizes of units, the overall changed, the assessed value projection and total tax savings projection, which is now $393,000 over 7 years plus the construction period, and the all-important debt service coverage ratio, which is why the developer is seeking this. Debt service coverage ratio is basically a tool that is used by commercial lenders to make sure that a project will generate enough cash flow in order to comfortably pay its debt service after all other expenses. Typically, a lender will not do a deal unless that debt service ratio is 1.2 or stronger. And without 79E, the developer does not achieve that magic number of 1.2. It falls below that, which is why it's a demonstration of need. There's a supplemental resolution, or a replacement resolution, I should say, that does note some minor changes. They're rather de minimis, but basically just making a correction to the overall project cost and the number of units in the resolutions, which are shown with the strike through and the bold italic for the changes. The project achieves, in order to get RSA 79E, you only really need, there are 5 different potential public benefits that a project can satisfy. You only need one of those under the statute to qualify. This project actually achieves all of those, and they're enumerated in the original June 28th report. I guess with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. So just to draw attention, we're talking about the revised resolution, correct?
Revised resolution, that's correct, yes.
Who has questions? Seeing no question of the council, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This time we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wish to testify? Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, mayors, members of the city council, city manager, and city clerk. I'm Roy Schweiker, and if you may recall, last month, I asked for a bit of information, which of course was not provided tonight, so I'm going to reinforce where it came from. I am not quite sure why, if it cost nearly $6 million to build this project, you are only going to put an assessment of $2.9 million on the project after it's finished. That just seems ridiculously low. I mean, we have an issue that if somebody from San Francisco comes and buys a house in Concord, you know, pays far more than it's worth because they don't know real estate values here, then not just that house, but every other house gets its valuation bumped up. But here we have some developers that theoretically know what they're doing, who are spending nearly $6 million on this project, and it's going to be assessed for only $2.9 million. I feel like this thing needs to be assessed for whatever is spent on it, because if these people are going to spend that much, it must be worth that much. And the second way you might evaluate this is, you know, what is the cash flow or whatever. And once again, you look at it, they have 30 units. And so if the value is really 2.9 million, they're saying each unit is only worth 100,000. Well, is that true? Because I've heard that, you know, once again, a rule of thumb, that the rent should be 1% of the valuation. So if the units are valued at 100,000, then the rent should be $1,000 a month each. And I suppose you can ask the developer if they intend to do that, but I have a feeling that that's not true. These things are going to be charged much more than that in rent. So either on the basis of what they spent on it or on the basis of the income that's coming in, this thing needs to be assessed for a fair value as compared to the poor individuals who actually live here and have to pay taxes based on inflated values. So I don't know why, when I asked last month, this could be explained to me. It hasn't been, but I'm asking you again. Maybe this should be explained to the public at large, why the developers get a 50% tax break on their projects. And the second thing is, once again, something I've said before, is I don't believe these things should be presented by city staff. I believe you should let the developer come up and explain why they need the tax break, because I think having the city staff present them gives you an artificial belief that what's said may be correct, whereas the city staff person is only, you know, regurgitating what the developer told them, so it may or may not be true. So that's a real concern with this project. I'm going to tell you that if you people value diversity in this city, you need to vote no on this bond. And I'll tell you why. And that is that, as you may or may not know, the building directly adjacent to this church is the Islamic community. And when they got zoning permission to put that there, they were sharing parking with the First Congregational Church, because the First Congregational Church had their primary religious day on a Sunday, and the Islamic community was on Friday, so that was a good deal for everybody. So they did that. And then the problem, of course, is that when it passed into other ownership, then they were suddenly going to lose most of their parking. And I don't know for sure whether you can operate a religious community where many of your members are from out of the city that doesn't have adequate parking. And it may be that these people will be forced to close this facility and move elsewhere because of a lack of parking. And I don't know who here wants to be famous as the people that voted to drive the Islamic community out of Concord. But to go on with more of this, the developer has said, well, this is like our other projects. It's like the Rollins Court and Sacred Heart. Well, the density in this project is 5 times the density of Rollins Court, 3 times the density of Sacred Heart. If you want a better comparison, I don't know how many of you have heard of the Cabrini Green apartments in Chicago. They were a very famous thing that was built up, and they got so infested with drugs and crime that the city had to come and tear them down. So this is 2/3 that density. That's why the zoning didn't allow this much on the property. And I don't think it's reasonable for the zoning board to allow the extra density, and I don't think it's reasonable for the city council to give them another break. Because, once again, I'm told that the Islamic community, a group of the members, made a bid to the coalition to buy this property, because that way they would retain it, a meeting hall, and they would have a little bit of space they could maybe turn into housing. But the coalition said, no, we don't care about, minority religion. We only care about housing. So they refused to accept that offer and instead accepted what I believe is a lower offer from the current developers. And I'm not quite sure how the zoning board could say it was a hardship when there was a better use for this property that the owner chose not to use. I think they're entitled to do what they want with their property, but they shouldn't be getting special hardship exemptions on a property that it's not the highest and best use. I think the highest and best use of that church hall is to keep it as a meeting hall, which the group of Islamic people were going to do, is compared to carving up for apartments. And they say that this is eligible for the National Register. Well, will it be after they get done carving up the apartments? Are they going to put solar panels on the roof to meet their energy standard? Are they going to cut more windows in it? I noticed they haven't provided any elevations on their, thing was submitted. So I think this is a bad project. I think the density is far too high for livability. They could easily have done away with that by tearing down the one-story addition, which is of no historical value. That would give them less users and more parking, but no, they're just out after every dollar they can squeeze out. And I think that the city needs to say, we will stand by, our minority communities in this city and not subsidize anything that's detrimental to them. And where are they going to park? They're losing the shared parking. They're going to lose the on-street parking because the developer is only providing 3/4 of the parking they're supposed to under the zoning code. And this just is a very bad idea all around. And I'm sorry that nobody else sees it that way, but I've had my say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Appreciate it. Thank you. Anybody else wishing to testify?
I'm happy to answer any questions that the council might have, but I think Matt's pretty comprehensive on the juncture.
Anybody have any questions, Ms. Trullian? We have one if you want to answer. Councilor Brown?
Thank you. Hi.
Hi.
I was just wondering if you could answer Mr. Schweiker's question about you're putting in 5.8 million, and the assessed value is less than that. Is that something who determines that?
I think that's done by the city assessor as part of the 79E report. I don't know where the.
And that's just a projection, so it could be assessed at higher, do we know? Does anyone in the city know?
Tell you what, during discussion, why don't you ask Mr. Walsh that
Okay,
question?
perfect,
So he answers
great,
that question.
great. Yep,
What's that?
yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Anyone else wishing to testify? All right, with that, we'll close the public hearing. Madam Clerk, item 27B.
It's an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, Title V Administrative Code, Chapter 35, Classification and Compensation Plan, Schedule D of Article 35-2.
Mr. Manager.
Members of the council, the positions that you see here were approved by the city council as part of the fiscal year 2024 budget. So all the changes here then need to go into our Schedule D, which only the city council can approve. So these all line up with all the items that we discussed during the budget, which you previously approved. So this is really a housekeeping measure.
Thank you. Any questions from the manager? Seeing none. Anybody wishing to testify on this item? We'll open the public hearing. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Takes us to our action phase. Item 28, please.
It's a resolution determining the proposed project has a public benefit and approving an application by First Church Holdings LLC for a 7-year RSA 79E Community Revitalization Tax Relief Incentive for renovation of real estate located at 177 North Main Street.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
And there's several seconds. Is there any discussion? Well, first, actually, before discussion, Mr. Walsh, would you mind to come on up? Council Brown had a question. I thought you might have the answer.
Unfortunately, I don't know if I can shed any more light on it. So you understand the process. We take the application, we take the financial pro formas, we take all the information the developer gives us, including what they're projecting for revenues and expenditures along with the project. We give it to the assessing department, and the city assessor and his staff come up with an estimated projected assessed value based on that information. So, and we've done this for all 79 e-applications, at least in my tenure that I've been handling them, which is approximately 10 years. Actually a little more than that. And they come up with a value, but I can't speak to how the assessor does that. I believe they use the income approach to do that, which is, it's income, replacement, or sales are the three methodologies that are out there. And they come up with the value based on the information that's presented to them, so.
May I follow up?
Sure.
So this is just projected. They're going to make an assessment after the 7 years, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so
yes.
this is, just a ballpark figure?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay, thank you very much.
you're
Oh,
welcome.
wait, I have another question. Regarding parking, how can we handle, we're on the parking committee, so we have been dealing with this neighborhood extensively for a single-room housing unit that, somebody's been in at least 3 times to the parking committee asking about parking. And the Islamic Center was sharing the parking for the church. What can we do to ensure that all our community members have parking? Can we work with the county attorneys that have a lot on Chapel Street to provide parking when it's not being used?
So I guess I would go back and say that I believe there were variances that were granted relative to parking for the project. The project is going to go through the planning board process, so it hasn't quite done that yet. You're kind of in the middle here.
Okay.
So I think that will be moving forward. I think it's something that's within the parking committee's purview to discuss further. If there are any neighborhood issues that arise relative to parking in that section of the community. But at this point, I would say I would let the permitting process continue on relative to letting the planning board taking a look at parking and letting the abutters comment on all of that.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
Thanks, Your Honor. Just for a clarification, Counselor Brown said we are on the parking committee. Who is we? Is that a stupid question? I'm like, who's we?
Well,
That's-
Counselor McNamara.
I'll listen.
Oh, sorry.
Unless you're directed to her, I'm not sure.
I just want to know who we is,
So,
because it's not me and it's not the mouse in my pocket either.
the members of the parking committee are city councilors. They are Council Brown, Council McNamara, myself, and our beloved chair, Council Todd.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So we have a motion, and the motion's on the revised ordinance, correct, or revised resolution, correct? Okay, thank you. Is there any further discussion? I would just simply add, I hope people support this. I think this is a really important step to helping to expand our housing stock in the city. Most projects that we get don't check off all the boxes. This one actually does check off every single one of the boxes. This is exactly why 79E was designed by the state, to do projects just like this. So, more importantly, in my mind, not only does it provide the housing stock that we need, but it takes a currently tax-exempt property, which is, in my mind, historically significant to our community, and it keeps the integrity of the building, but it also puts it on the tax rolls, which is, I think, beneficial to all of our taxpayers. So I would hope you would support the project to move the process along. Is there anyone else? Seeing none, ready for the question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. The motion's adopted. Madam Clerk, item 29, please.
It's an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, Title V, Administrative Code, Chapter 35, Classification and Compensation Plan, Schedule D of Article 35-2, Class Specification Index.
Move approval.
Second. Motion made and seconded to approve this item. Is there any discussion? See none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the ayes have it, the motion's adopted. Okay, takes us to the items that have been removed from consent. Madam Clerk, item 17, please.
Yes, it was pulled from consent by Councilor Brown. It's the status report from the city manager on council's 2022-23 priorities.
Thank you very much. Council Brown.
Thank you, Mayor Boulay. I just feel that we could be more descriptive in the priorities list, particularly talking about the use of fund balance. During the Finance Committee on June 5th, I had asked, because I know one of the city's goals is to not use the fund balance. So I would simply like the language that we just approved in the June 5th minutes to be included in the priorities that explain the goal of the City Council is to have a fund balance of no less than 18.5%. The current fund balance is 19.6%, therefore, we're using a small amount of fund balance, which will result in a fund balance of approximately 19.1%, still exceeding the City Council's goal and allowing for the proposed changes without further increasing the tax rate. I just think that's clarifying language.
Where are you?
I am looking at the, on the report, under the first goal, A, eliminate use of fund balance. I'd just like to add that in more descriptive language.
Mr. Manager, do you have any problem with adding that in the future?
Well, the category is eliminating the use of fund balance, so that doesn't speak to that.
So I'm sorry, may I answer?
Sure.
I felt it explained why we were using the fund balance, because the goal is to eliminate, but then it says we approved using 295. So I felt it explained it more clearly that it doesn't increase taxes.
Mr. Manager, aren't we talking about two different things, two different fiscal years?
I was trying to think of a way to include something like that, but it would be misleading to put it under a limit under that category. I don't know if we could put it, I mean, that's your goal, that's your stated goal for your financial goals. I just don't.
Anybody else have an opinion?
Could you do it again? I'm sorry, could you state?
So I just wanted to pull the language from the June 5th minutes that explain why we used the fund balance of 295,000.
The 295?
Yes. So I'm just clarifying that it's explaining the use of that fund balance doesn't increase the tax rate.
So if we did something like, the city council approved using, which still, I could come up with some language.
Satisfies the council,
yeah,
right.
which still keeps it above the city council
Goal of
goal of
18.5%.
18.5, something like that?
Yeah, I feel like that just explained it more, because I had raised that question in June 5th,
Yeah.
and if I was reading it again, I would still have that question.
Okay. I can add that. It's accurate, it's not a,
Anybody oppose that?
nope.
All right, sounds good. Would you like to make a motion then?
I would like to make a motion that we add the language.
At this point, you just got to approve the item.
Oh, yeah, just, I guess, the,
Council Brown, would you like to make a motion?
make a motion to approve my suggested changes.
Approve item 17, how's that?
Item 17.
All right, and then your issues will be addressed with the changes.
Thank you.
All
Thank you.
So it won't be that exact
Right,
same
of
language,
course.
but I get the idea.
But you get
the
it.
gist
Second,
of it,
thank you.
The gist of it, yes. I get it.
Second.
right, thank you.
I already seconded it.
You're so kind.
Okay, so with that, we have motion in favor, we have a motion before us. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? The ayes have it, motion is adopted. Okay, Madam Clerk, item 18, please.
So this item was pulled by Councilors Kretovic, Brown, and Fennessy. It's a report from the Deputy City Manager, Finance, recommending approval of the proposed 2024 membership, daily fee simulator, and outing rates, for the Beaver Meadow Golf Course.
Okay. I'm going to recognize Councilor Kretovic, because your name came first. Let the games begin.
Thanks, Your Honor. Members of the council, I am asking you to support the rate changes proposed by the Golf Advisory Board. And I did want to take a moment just to draw attention to the vibrant discussion our advisory board had over 2 sessions regarding whether there should be a residential versus non-residential rate differential. The advisory board was asked to look at this structure, not by this council, but by City Manager Espel, and the board did so with robust conversation over 2 meetings over this past month. At the onset of the discussion, there was a bit of favor to changing the greens fee structure to have a resident discount. there was absolutely no consensus at any time that we should touch the membership fees, the season pass holder fees. It would allow us to remain affordable in the marketplace and competitive with the other area courses, which is why it was in favor of leaving that as is. I can only implore the council to understand that this board is very data-driven, always. And there is a high risk that we will lose green fee revenue by offering a reduction in fees to residents. Ultimately, how much you want to risk, all of that is up to this board. The advisory board was unwilling to take that risk now, and these are the factors that came about for that decision. The guesstimate number was an immediate $29,000 loss in revenue for resident discounts, and it was only a couple of dollars per round of 18. Add to this the need for additional staff at check-in during high-volume play in order to accommodate reviewing resident versus non-resident checking in at the desk. That information would need to be entered into our software, and we learned this is not a simple process. The additional staff time could cost upwards of $44,000, which includes all city expenses, wages, plus the taxes, for adding just one part-time employee in the pro shop, and that estimate is at that $14.50 per hour. We've been here before. We had a resident discount in the past, and it cost us dearly against the other courses when non-residents chose not to play our golf course. And it caused us not to be self-sustaining on our operational expenses. The Golf Course Advisory Board was tasked at that time to reversing the trend of having taxpayers fund our golf course operations. And so the non-resident premium was removed, and it's one of the items that helped turn around the golf course to be profitable and to cover our operational expenses. We are also charged with maintaining a 5-year plan at the golf course. This is not part of that 5-year plan, and it will be disruptive to what we have laid out over the long term. The ultimate ask here is for the Golf Advisory Board to support a potential reduction of revenue of more than $73,000 based on guesstimates. To provide a sample for you, this is what happens in the real world. I go online and I book a tee time, and I book that tee time under my name and guest. Now, when I go to check in, they might know that I'm a member, but they've got to check the 3 other people in and determine whether they're a resident or not a resident, and that tee time is in 5 minutes. That is not going to happen. Thus, the need for an extra person at the desk during those high volume times, and high volume time is important here. Another example is we take a hit just when the weather changes. And as an example, on July 16th, it's a Sunday, it's raining, but it's a beautiful 73 degrees, and we sold $160 in green fees for the day. Comparatively, another Sunday, July 30th, it's 69 degrees, sunshine, blue skies, $9,880 in greens fees. The weather has that much of a shift in the profitability of the golf course based on greens fees. The member season pass holders are already paid. They are the guarantee income that we have a year-over-year basis. My final summary here is that the golf course is supporting City Manager Espel's recommendation to implement a resident discount, but not through the entire season. During the slow time of play, during next year's golf season, so that we can start capturing data and seeing what is our ratio of resident to non-resident. So it's not a no, it's a take pause, gather some data, and let us look at this again. And with that, I would move to approve this report, but I do know other counselors have some input here.
Okay. We have motions. Someone want a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Council Brown.
Thank you. Counselor Kretovic, I appreciate your passion for the golf course.
It's just a speaking voice, honestly.
Well, oh, you're not passionate about the golf course? Oh,
I'm
okay.
passionate about a lot of things in the city.
It's great.
Just
I am equally passionate because the taxpayers have invested a lot of taxpayer dollars in the golf course. $100,000 for tree removal, $2.2 million for irrigation, $500,000 to design a clubhouse, which was renovated in 2001. So I love that you're data-driven, because I am also data-driven, and I see from these membership rates, we can look at the Beaver Meadow Golf Course rates for 2023 and compare them to the 2023 rates for Pembroke Pines, Canterbury Woods, and Loudon Country Club, and see that they are several hundred dollars less than other golf courses. So in the interest of taking a pause and focusing on the data, I would recommend that we wait a month and we wait to see what the other competitors' 2024 rates are. Why are we setting our 2024 rates based on 2023 numbers? Let's get that accurate data.
Thank you. Council Fennessy.
Thank you. So, as Councilor Kretovic mentioned, we had a very spirited conversation over the course of 2 separate meetings at the Beaver Meadow Advisory Committee. I would agree, we didn't really reach a consensus with respect to the greens fees. There were certainly, I think the vote was either 6-3 or 5-4. It was very close as to whether or not we would support a discount for Concord residents or not. What we were talking about was that it wouldn't be for all of the rates, because we have a lot of dynamic rates at the golf course. So what we were talking about with respect to greens fees is, as you'll see in the proposal, it's $53 is the proposed 18-hole rate on the weekend. The proposal, I believe, was for it to be $49 for residents. The rate for during the week is $43. The proposal is that it would be $39 for residents, and then the 18-hole rate, or I'm sorry, the 9-hole rate would be $30 and $28 for residents. So we had a really long conversation. Like I said, I think it's reasonable to go either way with respect to that issue. There's certainly, I've played public golf courses that are county courses in a variety of different states. In some cases, the residents of the county get a discount, in other cases, they do not. With respect to the membership rates, I think we were all generally in agreement that it did not make sense to discount those because, as Councilor Kretovic pointed out, those are in some ways a discount to begin with, because that's money that you're paying and you can play as many rounds as you want. It's a benefit to the city, obviously, because that's the money that we have in that supports the capital costs that we're incurring. It's sort of guaranteed revenue that we have. You know, at the end of the day, we don't know how many people are going to play. It's very dependent on the weather. So I would suggest that, at least from the council's perspective, it would be reasonable to have a conversation about whether we think a discount for Concord residents is appropriate. I was in the minority of that vote. I actually supported the idea of doing a discounted greens fee. I do think city taxpayers do contribute to the capital projects that we have done. Hopefully we'll continue to do at the golf course, and I think it's reasonable to show appreciation by giving Concord residents a discount.
Further discussion? Councilor Crabtree.
Just a clarifying with regards to making a decision next month, mean we will not be able to do a fall special, which is very typical that we do this time of year. So that's one item of note. The second one is all of the private courses here wait for us to set our rates before they set theirs, because they're doing it based on a specific differential of us. Thanks.
Councilor Rice on it.
Thank you. I had 2 questions for members of the Golf Course Committee. The first one was that at the July 26th meeting, there was a motion to collect resident versus non-resident membership data, but that motion failed 4-5. So is there a plan in place right now to collect that data over the course of the next year if this is going to be discussed, is anticipated to be discussed next year?
The request for the city manager. The city manager has the opportunity to set rates at specific times.
We'll call timeout. Why don't you come on up?
Sure, thanks.
Could I get Mr. Davis to come up with me as well?
You could bring the police department, the fire department if you want.
Maybe the police department, he knows more than I.
The matching colors.
Good evening.
Welcome.
You guys have a schedule to coordinate your shirt and your tie?
We do. Except mines think alike. It's the greens freeze.
yeah.
Greens fees.
Wow, that was good. Councilor Rice Hawkins, why don't you,
Thank you. I noted at the July 26th meeting of the committee that there was a motion to collect resident versus non-resident membership data, but the committee decided not to pursue that. So I'm curious if this is a data-driven committee, what data they are going to use to make this decision next year.
That was a vote of the committee to, to not collect that data. I think that the information that we would be able to use is part of the presentation or part of the memo that I wrote to the council was to have specific days or times during the golf season to provide a discounted rate to residents. So based on what we would see during that time, it would start to give us an indication of how many of those folks are residents versus non-residents, that actually come to the golf course. It's, it's one of those things where it's not real easy to count. We made an estimate of 55% residents and 45% non-residents, but we don't know that for sure, so it's really trying to cull that down a little bit better, but I don't know that there's an exact science unless you ask every person that comes through the door, but then you don't know if you have a repeat customer, 4 times in 1 week, how does that skew you have to start to eliminate those duplicate resident versus non-resident people.
The other question I had, so you could look at the fee rates as a discount for residents or a premium for non-residents, but if we're hundreds of dollars cheaper than other area golf courses, couldn't we make up for those added costs of collecting that data by just simply raising our costs a little bit and then pulling from that money?
hundreds of dollars.
Raising our cost, I'm not sure I understand what you mean by raising our costs a little bit. Do you mean raising the revenue a little bit?
Yeah, if our baseline fees are hundreds of dollars cheaper than area golf courses, if we just shrunk that differential a little bit and that added that projected revenue to offset the costs of collecting that data or doing those resident, non-resident checks, you would still be getting a discount at that point for residents, but you would be making up for it in those additional revenues.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to obviously work to put something in place in order to collect that data and try to make some sense of it. If we did charge additional fees or raised our fees, are you talking about for the membership or for the greens fees?
I think both.
For both, and that would be closer to the other competition. Then you obviously would have additional revenue coming there that would be able to offset additional fees that we would have or additional costs that we would have associated with it. Yep.
If I could, so as a non-golfer, as who understands, Brian has to explain a lot of this to me. But some things I do understand is that in my mind, when I put Brian in charge of the golf, there's 5 reasons why the course is doing as well as it's doing. And one is golf overall in the country is doing better. 2 is I put Brian's the leadership of the course, and he's really changed the way things get done. And then Phil manages like no one else, and he's doing a great job, and Pat takes care of the course. But the 5th one is the city council, because the investments that you guys have allowed to make you guys. The city council has approved to make in the course is what's changed it around for people and the increase in the membership. So the reason I asked them to look at the differentials and look at the fees was because my concern as a non-golfer is that it's going to be so successful that you're going to start to eat the success. There'll be too many people playing. There'll be and what that will lead to is a reduced quality of the course and a reduced experience of the people playing that course. So in my mind, if we keep going the direction we're going and the success keeps building on itself, which it has, and I think it will continue to, actually the quality of the course and the experience will go down. So to me, there's going to have to be some sort of action that we take based on the trajectory that we're on that's going to allow Brian and Phil and me to differentiate how that course gets used. So that's why I've asked them to take a look at this. So somewhere along the line, you can only have so many members. You can have only so many people you have in the greens fees, and you have to have the appropriate balance, which they understand and I don't understand. So that, and based on this requested approval, as I understood it, that generates another $150,000 estimated in revenues. Now, I'm thinking it could be more than that. So I would like to just keep going the direction that we're going, but recognizing the fact that somewhere along the line, we're going to have to change the mix here to make sure that the quality's still good. Because it doesn't make any sense to have a product out there where the people are not enjoying the product as best they can, and that the quality of the course starts to suffer. Right now, we're in a very good place, and I'm trying to find a way to keep us there. That's why I asked for them to take a look at it. So I think, I wouldn't want to tinker with it too much, but I think we can. I think we're going to have to as time goes on.
That might keep going. Go ahead.
Yeah. So out of curiosity, could the city manager's office make a determination about collecting resident versus non-resident data in order to help make those assessments?
Well, what we're doing now, you've given me the authority, which I then give to Phil, to actually change the rates as to be dynamic, and that's one of the reasons we've had some success that we've had. If Brian and Phil come to me and say, we think we can collect some information on this so that we can make a determination on how to do it, I would support that.
Bill Spears.
Thank you. I guess this is more of a comment. Of the 5 things that the city manager just mentioned, I think the 5th, being the council, as we do with any committee, is to take the recommendations from a committee, as golf, any committee within the city, and give it our best judgment rather than trying to dissect it on what the committee did through their whole process. So I'm in favor of this. I'm in favor of supporting the committee recommendation. And I don't think there's anything wrong with a 5-4 or a 4-5 vote. To me, that means the committee is really discussing the issues. So I'm going to support this.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. City Manager, I really appreciate the comments that you had with regards to the membership, because the Golf Course Advisory Board has been talking about that creep. Where do we get to the point where it's a breaking point on our membership? And as part of this discussion, we felt, with the input from our staff, that we're not there yet, but we do believe it's coming. What you have suggested here is a little bit of a step down than what you would see in our minutes, which is a premium for late signing up. When you sign up early, you get a premium in the fall. When you sign up late, you do have to pay a higher fee. If you sign up later, as in May 1st, and we're creeping up on those numbers that we can't support anymore, then we could have another premium rate above that, but it's not a premium based on resident, non-resident. We know it's coming also. It's how do we have that balance? And I hear you. I hear you exactly what you're saying. Thank you.
Ms. Brown?
Thank you. I appreciate that you recognize City Council has had an impact on the improvements of the golf course. We did approve an assistant golf pro, and we also improved fiscal tech who are working at the clubhouse. And I would think the additional staff would be able to collect that data, and I think it would be a good faith to our taxpayers that we're taking the time to recognize residents' contribution to the capital improvement projects at the golf course. And I just want to point out that current members, the fall special is the 2023 rates. So for example, a senior 2023 rate is $1,195, whereas Pembroke Pines, I actually looked it up, their 2023 rate is $1,900. So that's that's their last year's rate. So we are giving a significant discount. If we just left the 2023 rate for residents, that, I would be okay with that. And then the 2024 rates, we determine what they would be for non-residents. But I think keeping the 2023 rates into the fall, we could do better, because we have done better. We've invested so much into this golf course. We hear people rave about it all the time. There have been no complaints about pricing. I've been attending both the building committee meetings and the golf committee meetings, and I have had constituents say to me that they feel the golf committee is like the fox guarding the hen house. You know, they're making determinations that affect their own pocket. So I think we have to also listen to what non-golfers are saying about the golf course.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'm sorry, Councilman Fennessy.
I'd just like to address the last comment because I don't think I'm a fox.
You're not.
And I think, you know, speaking for members of the committee, I do take offense to the idea that you are suggesting that people are acting in their own personal interests. We have a great group of people who have been on that committee for, in some cases, decades, who care very much about that golf course and our city. And I think it's unfortunate when this council makes comments about people who volunteer their time and have for many years and suggest that they're doing it purely out of self-interest. So respectfully, I take great offense on behalf of the committee to that last comment.
Councilor Hawkins.
I just had one other question for the city manager or comment, and you feel free to respond to it. But I note that we do collect resident information for many other city services, including the pools and discount fees for some of the programs through Parks and Rec and the library. So it's not inconsistent with other programs within the city to require that resident identification for the pricing or access.
Thank you. Councilor Quinlan.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. City Manager, can you explain to me why the golf course being profitable, you are looking for a resident, non-resident fee, and the arena being unprofitable, not?
Why am I?
Yes, this is your recommendation, sir.
Well, my concern is that, I'll say two things about the pricing. The pricing, you know, would I love to have us charge more per round, per membership? Yes, but I'm very cognizant when I talk to the folks out there, when I first took over as manager, is that they were concerned about being priced out. If it really had to support itself completely for all costs, and it was in such a condition that we had to make the investments that we had to make with the quality of the staff and the capital improvements themselves, that so many people, so many Concord residents, particularly retired folks, would be priced out of the use of it. I was very concerned about that. So I tried to take a different approach, and Brian's really led the charge on making this all work. In terms of the arena, again, this is, it's the same issue. If we charge what it really, recognizing the fact what it costs for people to upfit, particularly children, to play hockey there, and then charge the fees that we would need to charge to make that profitable, even right now beyond simply break even, I think we would price a lot of people a lot of parents out of having the opportunity for the children to play hockey or skate or anything else. So again, we're not in this to make money. We're in this to try to produce the best quality service that we can, but also be responsible to the taxpayers, future and past, about the assets that we control. So that's, we're always going back and forth with that. And I don't necessarily think I always come up with the right answer, but with these gentlemen's help, I think we get pretty close to it. But I think we always have to recognize the fact that we got to be flexible, and it's going to change from year to year based on what's going on in the economy.
Thank you.
I don't know if that helped at all, but.
Councilor Ryan.
Thank you. I'd just like to comment that, again, I don't golf, but I think it's incumbent upon us to certainly listen to the Golf Course Advisory Committee. the management of the golf course, certainly led by the Deputy City Manager of Finance and Phil, and we should follow their recommendations. To let them run their business the way they see fit, as long as it's posting a profit. Golf course has been turned around, so kudos to that. I'd also like to note that the discussion tonight has been somewhat different than what I expected, in that certain councilors who usually oppose the golf course are actually actively discussing positive revenue streams for the golf course, and it's actually very nice. I like that support. So with that, I'd like to move the question.
Well, since you feel so good, we should do that.
I move to accept report
It's been
and
a motion.
all of the rates contained
We
within.
have a motion before us, motion's been seconded. Just give a chance. Does anybody else want to say anything before we go?
I'm sorry, the motion is to delay for a month?
No, the motion's to
Accept
accept
the
the report approving the 2024 membership daily fees, outings, and simulated rates as recommended by the Golf Course Advisory Committee. That was the motion that was made and seconded.
I'd like to make an amendment that we delay a month.
Sure. Motion made and seconded. Go ahead, sure.
Yeah, I actually just had a question based off of something came up in the conversation just now. So, do other area golf courses wait until City of Concord sets our rate to set theirs? And if so, why? And what is that differential that they are trying to achieve?
I wasn't the one that made that comment, so, you know, I think that you probably would have to talk to the other golf courses. We have that perception that occurs. You know, they look at it as a competitive basis. You know, we look at it as a competitive basis as well. But, you know, obviously, the surrounding golf courses probably likely look at, you know, what we're doing, just like we look at what they're doing. So, you know, but to say that I've had a conversation, or Phil has had a conversation, you know, that we've had, you know, we don't, you know, we can't say that, but, you know, there's other information that we're not necessarily privy to.
Thank you.
Council Pierce.
Did you make an amendment?
Yes.
Yeah, she did. And it was seconded to simply delay this for, basically to,
Okay, I didn't hear it.
you said delay, so is it delay implement, I could do it many different ways. I could say we could table it for a month, is that what you intended? Could I say delay implementation for a month, is that what you intended? Could I say, what did you intend?
I'm sorry for not being more clear. I would like to table it for a month.
That is a motion that's in order, and that has been seconded correct, all right. So we have a motion to table this for 1 month. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No.
Motion fails. We'll bring us back to our original motion to accept the report approving the 2024 membership rates, et cetera. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Roll call, please.
We have a motion for a roll call, or a request for a roll call. Starting with Council Brown.
Counselor Brown?
No.
Counselor Champlin?
Yes.
Counselor Fennessy?
No.
Counselor Grady Sexton?
Yes.
Counselor Kretovic?
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin?
Yes.
Counselor McNamara?
Yes.
Counselor Nyan?
Yes.
Counselor Pierce?
Yes.
Counselor Rice Hawkins?
No.
Counselor Todd?
Yes.
Counselor Bouchard?
Yes.
And Mayor Boulay.
Yes.
So,
And with that, motion's adopted.
yes.
Okay, thank you. That takes care of that. We have one item for suspense. Suspense 1, Madam Clerk.
Yes, it is a communication requesting City
Actually, I
Council.
apologize. Can I get a motion to suspend the rules to allow suspense 1?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to suspend the rules to allow suspense 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Madam Clerk, I apologize.
Nope, I should have got that. Communication requesting City Council hold a public hearing on a request to the Commissioner of the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources regarding State Highway Historical Marker Number 278, the Elizabeth Gurley Flynn Marker. And it's, should say that it's requested to be referred to the Heritage Commission.
And I've also had a request to be sent to the legal department as well. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor. Can I put a little explanation around that?
Sure.
This is an active litigation, and it would not be appropriate for the Heritage Commission to take this up without input from our legal, because it is inactive, and even though the request is for the city to have a letter, it is already in court. And in the conversation with the city solicitor, this is the best option for the moment. It can go to Heritage Commission after our city solicitor advises.
Could I just clarification? Sure. So the referral, referral first to legal, come back to council, and then council, if they wish to consent it to Heritage? Makes sense? Comes
Is-
back?
is
So
that
so
how
that
you-
you make the decision of whether it goes to Heritage or not after you hear from legal.
If that's how you would prefer it, city manager, I would agree with that.
So I understand the motion the manager would like to make
But he couldn't, but he can't, so.
is to refer this simply to legal. correct?
Legal first. Yes, sir.
And you're going to report back to us. Is that what I heard?
Right.
All right, Councilor Rice.
I'm confused why we shouldn't move forward if it's in legal, because we're not involved in the legal portion of this. This is a separate request for city council to take action.
There is an RSA that says the city council
We have
can't
a
wait.
solicitor. Let's ask him.
I stayed at a Holiday Inn. There was an attorney there.
Yes, we all understand that there is some litigation going on surrounding this matter. There was a request that came in that cited a certain statute regarding cooperation between the city and the state for the placement of any type of marker in the city. While we are currently, they are currently, the state and the plaintiffs are currently litigating this matter in Merrimack County Superior Court, it might be wise just to look at what it means, and so that our Heritage Commission would know what to do with such a request and how it would all work. We all understood from the prior matter that was before us, the historical marker program, the state completely maintains and controls the content of that sign, and that we do not have anything to do with that. And so to the extent that there is to be something out of this between the state and the city for cooperation, it might make sense to work out a path before it comes back to this body or some other body for movement. And my office would be willing to assist with that to the extent that this body would like us to do that.
Councilor Pierce.
Would there be any law that would preclude us from putting up our own historic marker, not associated with the state? We do it with statues to Franklin Pierce and everyone else. We do not need state approval to do that. So is there anything that would preclude us from doing our own?
We have certain signs in the city. Most are directional. We may have some other historical marker signs. I'm not familiar with many. If we are, I know that you recently approved a sign down in Memorial Field for tennis courts. And so we do that occasionally. And with this, yeah, certainly we could do that. We want to make sure that we're mindful of the First Amendment and everything else there too, relative to the creation of a sign. Certainly we open the door for one, we open it for others. And so we want to exercise caution when we start having content-based signs that we're approving as a body. So that is I think a slippery slope when a public body does that. I'm just saying that we want to be very careful. Certainly, we can do things. Yeah, we can make signs.
Do all kinds of things.
That's the best legal advice I've ever got.
You go, Your Honor.
We can do things.
So, don't go anywhere.
So, we can do things. What would you like to do?
Sorry, so I just want to clarify. So there's no legal barrier from us approving this request. It's more of the concern about potential cooperation with the state should they make that decision independently.
Well, no, the request, if you took a look at it, cites a certain statute that involves cooperation between the city and the state. And so how that would occur would be statutorily, and we would have to follow the statute in order to achieve that agreement. And so to do that, we want to make certain that, there is a statutory avenue to make that happen. And so what I'm saying is let's explore the statute before moving to a committee or this council.
Councilor Councilor Grady Sexton.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just wanted to say I'm going to vote against any motions to bring this before legal or to the Heritage Commission because I don't think it's appropriate to resurrect the sign at all.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Hawkins.
Well, I'll just make a statement that I think it's completely appropriate to resurrect the sign and that we should not erase American history, and that it's important that as city leaders and as Americans that we ensure that our full history is shared and represented in our city. But I am comfortable moving it to legal first and appreciate the background on why that is the process to take.
Okay. We don't have a motion in front of us, believe it or not. So we want to make a motion?
I move to refer it to legal.
Second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded to refer to legal. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
And the ayes have it. Good luck doing something.
Motion to reconsider.
Excuse me?
May I do a motion to reconsider?
Sure.
It was referred, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Approved.
and I was prevailing. I wanted to call for a roll call, and I should have. So I'd like to take the vote again.
It's
Once the
6-3 to
voting,
whatever
once the
else
vote
is-
is completed, it's completed. If we had been in the voting mode, I would have said yes. But
But isn't that the point of a motion to reconsider?
reconsider has always been to take up the actual item itself, not the way in which it was approved or not approved.
Okay. It's on video. Thank you.
Okay, that completes suspense item. So close to the end. All right, let's shake it up. Mr. Manager, anything you want to share with us tonight?
No, Your Honor.
Good job.
Thank you, Local.
That's well done.
Councilor Nyers giving me the eagle eyes.
All right. Who'd like to just go around the room? What's that? Is there new business? Did I miss something? What did I miss? I didn't see any new, okay, well, you have no reports, I have no new business, and I have no unfinished business. Did I read that wrong?
Excuse me.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Huh?
I thought, I had something for, I thought, new business, but
Comments.
You want to just take it up comments?
that's fine.
Why don't you go first, kick us off?
Awesome, because I have a whole bunch of stuff. First,
I'm gonna sit back.
good, get comfortable. June 5th, I brought up the All Kids Bike. And after National Night Out and how wonderful it was, and we gave out 100 bike helmets, we realized how important bike safety is to kids. So I would like to send that consideration, All Kids Bike, and coordination with the school board to the Joint City Council School Board Committee to explore All Kids Bike. And also I would like to send them something else. During the last DEI-JB committee, we talked about opening up school facilities to meet the needs of marginalized community members, so I would like that to be a second topic at the Joint City Council School Board Committee. And moving on, my next item of new business.
Can I ask you a question about the
Sure.
helmets? I think
Yes.
there's one thing.
Oh, yes, the police department provided the helmets.
So you didn't give them out? Because I thought you
did.
said last year did you purchase them?
I did not. I did not.
So who actually purchased them?
I believe the police department received a grant, and they typically hand them out during their bike rodeo, but during
So the city handed them out.
yes,
Okay.
well, the PD
Oh.
through the city, or the city.
Wow.
Yeah.
If I may clarify.
That's a little different than I thought it was, because the way it was explained last time when you talked about it, you said, I will be
Yes.
handing them out,
Well-
and as such, and so it wasn't you, it was actually the city. I get you, okay.
Well,
yes.
I can clarify that Councilor Rice Hawkins and I fitted over 100 children with bike helmets, and the Concord Police Department gave us 3 giant boxes that we then dispersed within an hour.
Why is it, Mr. Manager? I'm curious.
I didn't do anything.
Share with me why the police department didn't share that with anyone else. Why didn't we know about that? Why didn't any other council have the opportunity to go do that? I'm asking the manager.
I was not asked to inform you of that by the police department.
Did you know about it?
They've done this for years.
They did
bought-
it, but but now we're having selected individuals being elected.
I don't know if they volunteered themselves to do it or not. They must have volunteered themselves to do it.
Gotcha.
We did not reach out to either of them that I'm aware of.
Gotcha.
I can say that I have worked for years, volunteered for years with the PD on their bike
I just want to
rodeo.
clarify what you said last time, what you're saying tonight.
Yeah,
I understand.
so I did fit everybody for helmets because I have helped the police department in that manner previously during their bike rodeos, which they didn't hold during COVID. I am interested if the $150,000 grant that the city manager is bestowing, if there have been any proposals received.
Have there been proposals? Yes.
Okay. I know you had said that you would keep us in the loop, so I appreciate that.
Said what?
That you would keep us in the loop.
When we get ready to make awards, yes.
Right. Thank you. My comments were, one, the National Night Out was a wonderful opportunity, and I appreciate having these events where we can meet with our constituents and find out what is important to them, and bike safety is important to them. Also, Wednesday night, David Shore's Trunk of Funk is happening on Prince Street at 6 p.m. He's a local talent. I think he's fantastic. It is also the same time as the Golf Building Committee meeting. So if you don't want to miss the Trunk of Funk, you can send your opinion about the clubhouse to the city clerk or other counselors. And also the Sunflower Festival is happening until the 20th. It is incredibly beautiful. It is in the agricultural fields behind the post office, Buffalo Wild Wings. And this is an example of thinking about our city spaces differently in a sustainable and inclusive way. It's going on until the 20th, weekdays from 10 to 7, weekends 10 to 6. So I hope everyone has an opportunity. It is absolutely stunning. They've done an amazing job. That's all I have.
Okay, who else wants to share? That's great.
Thanks, Your Honor. I received an invitation from Rabbi Robin with regards to terrorism and hate in Concord, a conversation between law enforcement and affected communities. That event is scheduled for September 11th. Sorry, what?
Who else needs to share?
Yeah.
Am I not discussing that?
Yeah.
Right.
You were out of order.
You were.
So, who wants to go next?
Yeah, Your Honor, as if we didn't have enough conflicts on Wednesday, I just wanted to mention that, as well as, that's this Wednesday, the 16th, I believe, that the Concord Young Professionals Network is meeting at the Sunflower Festival from 5:30 to 7. If you're a young professional or a young professional at heart, you should reach out to the Greater Concord Chamber of Commerce, and I'm sure that there are still tickets available.
Anyone else want to share? Anyone else? You sure? Okay. So, the clerk, this time of year, always asks me to share with you that, as a friendly reminder, Election Day is Tuesday, November 7th. It is not that far away. But most importantly, those who are wishing to file for office, whether it be for mayor, city councilor, or ward official, may do so on September 8th through the 18th of September. September 8th is a Friday. And if you so choose, if you're interested, the filing fee is $5 for mayor or for a member of the city council, and it is $1 for ward officials. So anyone who's interested in signing up, that is your opportunity from the September 8th through the 18th. If you do not wish to pay the fee of $5 or $1, then you wish to file by petition, you have until September 22nd to file by petition. So the other reason I share that with you is because over the past 13 years, I've actually been the first person to sign up at 8 a.m. on the first Friday. And I think that Councilor Krudvik might have been right there with me a few times, but I've always actually been able to be first in those 13 different elections I've signed up. So my question for you all is, and to the community, is who's going to be the first person to sign up this year? Because I've been talking this over with my family, and I've made the decision that I will not be running for re-election this upcoming November. Serving the people in the city I love dearly, as the 56th mayor, of this city has been a joy and a privilege I can't even describe. There have been so many moments where I have witnessed firsthand the city's resilience, where I've seen people rise above adversity, and where I have accomplished, we have accomplished great things, and where I've seen great kindness in our community. I want to thank the people of Ward 10 who let me sit in that chair over there, and the City of Concord for allowing me to serve this community for the last 26 years, first as a city councilor and then as mayor. I want to thank my family for all those Monday nights and the meetings upon meetings upon meetings that I was away from home. But I was here with you all folks and the members of our community. And I want to acknowledge the incredible lifelong friends that I've made along the way. I took a quick look today, just out of curiosity. Keith, we've been together for 18 years. Candace, we've been together for 16 years. And my friend Amanda, we've been together for 14 years. It has been an honor of a lifetime to serve with you around this table, through both disagreements and consensus, and all of the 52 different counselors that I've had the privilege of serving with over the years. I believe we, and I can't emphasize enough, we, as a council, have been able to accomplish some incredible things in this community. And while I'm not certain of what the future holds, I trust that my next season will continue to be one full of passion and purpose, guided by the belief that within each of us is the power and the responsibility to make a positive difference in the lives of others. I look forward to serving this great city as a community member, and as I all work together to continue to make Concord a great place to live, to work, and to play. My love for Concord, its citizens, and this institution have never wavered, and it never will. And I thank you all. And as my son reminded me that today, 16 years ago, when I first was elected, I started saying, it's another great day in the city, and today is another great day in this city. Thank you. Okay, so, who wants to move we adjourn so we can go drink? So moved.
Second.
Everybody moves we adjourn. Everyone seconds it. I love you all. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion is adopted. Peace, everyone. Huh?
Reconsider?
What?
Reconsider.
After the first of the year, there will be